reporter KMOV in on Skype in St. Louis, and she had boots on the ground from day one. First, I want to play part of her interview with Mike Brown's mother shortly after he was gunned down.
Doing too much. You don't do a dog like that. You didn't have to shoot him 8 times. If he was doing something to you and you was trying to stop him, where did the police shoot you? In the leg. You just shot all through my baby body.
And for me, that's difficult. And it's difficult because it really continues to remind us that these are real people with real families and not just news stories. And Brittany, if you could come up, one, help me understand where you have been, what made you decide to begin to report this the way you have, and what the real response has been real time from social media.
So in the very beginning, it was some of my Instagram friends that were reaching out to me. They'd seen the pictures of the boy laying on the ground, and they had seen the pictures of the father, and all that had been floating around social media. And they started reaching out to me on Instagram. They said, "Brittany, do you know anything about this?" And because I'm a news reporter and because I have avenues to get information that sometimes other people can't, I decided, okay, let me call the newsroom and see what's going on. I also work the weekend shifts, and so I know that we are very short-staffed on the weekend, and so anything I could do to help out my weekend crew, that's what I want to do. So I decided to come in, and when I was out on the scene, quite naturally, it just made sense to respond back to the people that reached out to me on Instagram with answers.
Well, and it was important because we weren't getting all the news, and the reaction on social media has been off the hook. I mean, tweets, Instagrams from celebrities. David Banner, who put out Instagram that our situation is more psychological than people will admit. Black kids kill black kids for the same reason cops, they don't see value. And we've seen others. I mean, I think that there's one from Young Jeezy where he talked about it's a shame in our society that we have to protect our loved ones from those who are sworn to protect us. And Keke Palmer had one that I thought was really important as well. Why do we hate each other, harm each other, kill each other? We're brothers and sisters, y'all, all colors. Peace is the answer. And so we're dealing with sentiments of anger. We're dealing with sentiments of how do we get together. We're dealing with sentiments of what is the job of the police department. All of those are being reflected, not just by those on the ground, but by those in social media. To our panel for a second, Ray, we all know how important social media has been, not just in elections, but in reporting from the ground. Is there a real way, and have you seen models anywhere, of how the social media piece goes beyond a couple of hardcore days of exchange to actual organizing and movement?
Yeah, I think we have, and I think one of the things that has been important has been the actions we've seen regarding Trayvon Martin, the actions we've seen regarding hearing Michael Brown, the instances where there's prolonged and continued action. Many folks across the nation would not know of these stories in past days where technology was not as advanced, connecting us in the way it has. Because it has connected us, it's given us the opportunity to come together, and those folks who were going to mobilize are now able to because they now have the information. We have to respect the boundaries of technology and what it will provide for us. What it will provide for us is the opportunity to communicate with one another, to spread information to one another. Once it does that, it's up to the human aspect again to get out and do the work on the ground.
But there's still an opportunity to use social media to help train, to help inform, to help provide next steps. That I have not seen, and I have not seen in a real way.
I guess you have. Look at Donald Sterling. Donald Sterling no longer owns the L.A. Clippers because there was a
Donald
push.
Sterling
There was
no longer. Donald Sterling, those folks who were tweeting helped create the groundswell for other people to do. I'm talking about we saw a fervor during Trayvon Martin. We even saw a fervor when we're dealing with some other cases where we're changing avatars, where we're pushing people to begin to do second autopsies, where we're pushing elected officials to be able to do things that they may not do. But then as soon as that individual case is over, it stops. And so I want you to come in, Lenny, but Michelle, talk to me a little bit about how do we create sustained movement with the level of energy that we're seeing in social media?
You know, we saw early on, you know, lots of hashtags and, you know, Mike Brown and rest in peace Mike Brown. Black Twitterati is really good about, you know, moving those things where communities and organizations can come and, you know, start tweeting out links to resources. That's something that we haven't seen. You know, during back in the fall, we had DACA and immigration. You know, the Latino community is really good about mobilizing and groundswell and doing those things through Twitter, telling people where to meet, what to go, what to do. We've not seen that with our community because, again, our leading organizations haven't provided those resources because they haven't come together to put those resources together. I think that's what needs to happen.
Let me ask real quick, and Lenny, you feel free to answer this in the space. Are we expecting that of a place that's supposed to disseminate information? It seems like
well, it kind of goes back. Yes, but it also goes back to your point, Ray, which is in the era of social media, those resources are available on the internet. We don't have to define leadership quite the same exact way because leadership wasn't necessarily going to push Trayvon Martin initially. Leadership wasn't going to push things, and it makes people become leaders. Again, when I brought up Donald Sterling, Twitter pushed the situation, but then you had leadership coming up in LeBron James and leadership coming up from the people on the LA Clippers, leadership coming up from Magic Johnson to apply enough pressure where Adam Stern had to make the decision to remove Donald Sterling and then subsequently force the sale.
But a movement that does not make
Well, so a movement goes from getting results and then saying, what's the next step? That's what we have to do next. We have seen results even over the last 12 months. Trayvon Martin was going to be pushed underneath the rug. Then we ended up seeing an actual trial. So we know that we can get results. Now, are they all the results?
But yet again, Lenny, we have not seen any new stand-your-ground laws removed.
Exactly.
We have not been able to see the adoption of a Trayvon Martin law. And we don't even see that many people talking about it. And so, again, the question is, after the initial push, what then happens?
So, you know, you and I have talked about unions before, and I know you're not a huge fan. But one thing that but one thing they do well is that they pull together their resources. And so when it came to the issue of moving back collective bargaining, they came together as part of the label table. They put their money behind Progress Now, and they decided this is something we're all going to move on. This one may be the service union, this one may be teachers, whatever. But they came together.
Well, and we're going to come together back on that, trying to front like I don't like unions. Brandy, I want to say thank you so much for what you're doing there on the ground. We really need you. We really need your voice. Thank you so much. Coming up, you all, social media users fight back. The trending Twitter hashtag, "It's They've Done to Be Down," challenges the way that media portrays not just black men, you all, but black women as well. And amid the chaos, anger, and violence, where do we go from here? How can we turn the senseless killing of another young black man into a real movement for change? Plus, we'd like to hear from you all on the question of the day: what can be done on the national level to stop